know we're mean. You try to act like you're so innocent. Like, oh, I used to live in Africa with all the little birdies and the little monkeys.
Some people say that Cady is the villain of Mean Girls, but if you watch closely, you may notice something very different. Because the real story of Cady Heron isn't about popularity. It's about what happens when someone enters a social system they don't yet understand. Hello, I'm Milhalosha. Welcome. Here we make films work for your success. And today we're talking about Cady Heron. Imagine entering a new group, a new school, a new job, a completely unfamiliar environment. You don't know the history, you don't know the alliances, you don't know the rules people follow or the rules they only pretend to follow. What happens first is usually not visible. People don't speak loudly, they don't take strong positions, they don't try to change the system immediately. They observe. They try to understand who plays which role, whose opinion carries weight, who people listen to, and who they simply tolerate. Because every group has a system, not a written one, but a social one. Invisible hierarchies, unspoken expectations, signals about who leads, who follows, and what behavior is rewarded. And the fastest way to lose influence is to act before you understand that system. That's exactly the situation Cady enters in Mean Girls. When she enters this world, she isn't stepping into a neutral environment. She's stepping into a structure that already existed long before she arrived. A structure with leaders, followers, and rules that everyone quietly understands. And something important happens here. Before this moment, Cady had never really been inside a system like this. No cliques, no popularity hierarchies, no constant negotiation of status. So when she enters this environment, she doesn't immediately try to control it. She tries to read it. But here is a subtle shift most people miss. In a new environment, you rarely see a system directly. You see it through someone else's version of it. At first, Cady understands the school through Janice and Damien, through their version of reality, through their definition of who matters and who doesn't, through their emotional map of the system.
Regina seems sweet.
Regina George is not sweet. She's a scum-sucking road horse. She ruined my life.
She's fabulous, but she's evil.
And this is the first distortion, because the first perspective you adopt in a group doesn't just inform you, it filters what you're able to see next. So Cady begins her understanding of the environment through a borrowed lens, but no system is single-layered. Everything changes depending on position. When Cady later moves closer to the plastics, the same school suddenly looks different. Same environment, different hierarchy, different logic, different meaning attached to the same people.
Okay, like if I was wearing jeans today, I would be sitting over there with the art freaks.
What looked like power from one angle can look like insecurity from another. What looked like confidence can turn into performance. Cady is not just moving through a school, she is moving through different interpretations of the same system. And without fully realizing it, she begins to adapt to each one. She watches behavior, she studies reactions, she learns what gets attention, what gets approval, what gets rejection. She experiments, she adjusts, and slowly something begins to shift. Because in systems like this, you don't just observe behavior, you start reflecting it. At first, it feels harmless. Just fitting in, just adjusting, just understanding how things work. But repetition changes the nature of it. Adaptation stops being observation. It becomes alignment. And once you align too early, you stop seeing the system clearly. You stop analyzing it. and start participating in it. And this is where Cady's story becomes larger than her. She doesn't change in a single moment. She changes through small, almost invisible adjustments. Each one feels rational on its own. Each one feels necessary in context. But together, they create direction. And that direction is shaped less by intention and more by environment.
You are just like a clone of Regina.
Because systems don't need to force transformation. They guide it through attention, through approval, through belonging, through exclusion. And this doesn't only happen in high school, it happens in any structured group. Workplaces, creative communities, friend groups, online spaces, anywhere people form systems of belonging. Because every system carries the same quiet pressure to align before you understand what you're aligning with. And once that happens, observation becomes harder. You stop seeing the structure and start becoming part of it. That is why Cady's story is not about manipulation. It's about adaptation under incomplete understanding. And if you look at this as more than just a story, you begin to notice how systems reshape people without them realizing it. And that changes how you enter new environments because you realize something important. Most people don't lose direction in new systems because they lack ability. They lose it because they enter the system too quickly without seeing how it is structured. When you enter a new environment, your behavior changes. And at first, there is no need to rush into alignment. Let the system reveal itself, not through what people say, but through what it rewards. Notice what gets attention, what gets ignored, who influences decisions without needing to speak loudly. And only then you begin to see where alignment is forming naturally. Not forced, not emotional, but structural. Because in every system there is a difference between belonging and understanding how belonging works. The real question Cady's story leaves us with is not about her choices. It's about timing. When you enter a new environment, do you understand it first? Or do you become part of it before you even truly see it clearly? Because the system will always shape you. The only variable is whether you see it before it does. I'll see you in the next video.